This is the Game Changers Experience. Deep dive conversations with leading business disruptors, Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers from around the world. This show will teach you insights about the winning principles in mindset, productivity, marketing, branding, entrepreneurship, business strategy, and more. Hosted by productivity authority, business strategist, former elite athlete, author, and public speaker, Adam Strong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business Accelerator with myself, Adam Strong. And today we're talking a little bit about how to be a more of a vulnerable entrepreneur, vulnerable leader, whatever you want to call it, right? But over the last few days, I had one of these. Some of you would have seen this on my social media if we're connected. But for those of you that haven't, I'll just give you a quick rundown, right? So a few days ago, I really hit a bit of a mental block more than anything else. And for me, like, my personality is that I'm a doer, right? I'm an action taker, and I'm an executor. And I was speaking to this with some very close contacts here, and for me, like, when you show up like you do, like I do every day, and I suppose in a way it's kind of like, and I suppose it's my personality more than anything else. It's kind of my way of saying, you know, all of the, I feel like sometimes we feel pressure. Do you know what I mean? And maybe it's the pressure to perform. Maybe that's the pressure of business. I don't know. But, last week it kind of all came crashing down a little bit. And I just it wasn't that, I don't know. It wasn't that I suppose I was down in a way, but I wasn't kind of like letting me affect me in like a really deep way. I guess it was just kind of a blip. But the reason why I wanted to share it with you guys is purely because I feel like so many people out there, especially if you're a business leader, if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it is, right, is that so many people hide behind a mask, right? They don't talk about these things. And I feel like the number one reason why most people don't talk about these things is purely because, number one, is that they're already thinking, who is judging me, right? Judgment is one of the biggest things that I feel like the reasons why most people don't talk about these things, whether it be stigma, whether it be around mental health, whatever it is, it's because they're already creating these assumptions, they're already creating these conclusions that people are going to create a judgment around them, right? And it's normally associated with negativity. Now, I don't know if you agree with me in this, I don't know, but that, from my perspective, that is generally what I feel is the number one reason why a lot of people don't show that vulnerability. Now, before we continue our conversation, if you're listening to me live, use the hashtag live or use the hashtag replay, and you can do that by can use that below. And if you're listening to me live, either on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, whatever it might be, please do me a favor, PLC, post, like, or comment, share the love. I know we've got a few people here that have already shared my love. I really appreciate you guys. Good morning to you, Carlos, by the way. I really appreciate you as well. So what I was going to say to you, vulnerability, for me, I'm not the typical type of individual that hides behind the mask. I'm just like really straight up. If I'm having a shitty day, if I'm having a really bad day, I'm going to tell you I'm having a bad day. If I'm going through the motions of something, I'm going to tell you I'm going through the motions. And over the last couple of years, it's, your audience and the people that you want to connect with, people want to see that human connectional element of you as an individual, right? Because guess what? Social media can be such a mirage of what we think is potentially happening or not happening. What I was going to say to you, just because you might see the successes of, people's stories or people in terms of like what they've achieved or whatever it is, what we really don't know is what's actually happening behind the scenes, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes that a lot of people are either number one, ready not to share, okay, for whatever reason, okay, they might not be ready to share it right now, okay, they might share it a little bit later on. And there's things that, like, for example, there's a whole there's a whole crap load of things which I'm not ready to share, right? But bit by bit, right? Bit by bit, it helps me to connect with my audience. And the thing is, we all got a story, right? And we all go through those. I'm gonna call them blimps, right? Blimps in the road, right? Is like these, what do they call it? Road humps in the road, right? We all get through those things. For me, I just like, and first of all, I wanted to give a big shout out to everyone that's listening in. Number one, but number two, um, I want to give a big shout out to all of the people that are connected with me on my list. For example, I had so many warming messages through email. I had people call me. I had people text me, right? WhatsApp me, Telegram me, Facebook message me, and the thread on my social media was insane. So it just really kind of goes to show that actually, and apart from one, they were all really positive because what I was doing is I was asking for people's advice, and I was asking, one of my big things actually, there were a lot of it was kind of very similar, but I'm going to share a couple of things that my listeners, like you guys, advised me to do in regards to showing vulnerability. So the first thing is taking a pause, right? So over the weekend, I've begun to pause and reflect a little bit more, right? So being able to see, okay, what are the good things that's happening right now? Okay, what are the things that we can take away from what's actually happening? So that's the first thing, pause and reflect. So super important, right? Number two is, you know, I always try to look at things that are doing good and not doing so well. So if they're not doing so well, I just kind of park it, you know, and assess and evaluate ourselves. Number three, evaluate and assess ourselves in terms of our strengths and weaknesses, because we're all not Superman, right? If we are, and I feel like, you know, there's some really, I mean, some of the emails that I got were just like, they were so, um, I was so touched by them in a nutshell, because they really hit a nerve with a lot of things. And I love the fact that there's so much generosity, but also, the fact that they appreciated that I was very transparent in how I came across, if that makes sense. Um, so and I'm a very transparent type of person. I'm a very transparent individual. And so, if something isn't right, then I'm going to tell you you're right type of thing. So I really kind of wanted to get out here. And the other thing I was going to say to you is change your environment. One of the things that I'm looking to do is to consistently change my environment all the time. Like at the moment, as you're listening to me, right? Even though there might be a bit of background noise and stuff like that. I'm outside, even though it's a little bit overcast today. I love to be outside, being in nature. I think it's like super important because it helps you feel grounded. Does that make sense? And I just feel like, sometimes, especially for me, like the way that I am, I suppose, wired, I can be extremely hard on myself, from being an elite athlete. If I'm winning or if I don't feel like I'm making progress, I'm going to start beating myself up about it. And that's just like my nature. Does that make sense? And I'm sure that, like in your way, you have a nature about you, about how you deal with things, about the pressures of life, family, relationships, health and fitness. There are things that I've brought into my life over the last 3 or 4 weeks, such as increasing my physical fitness, affirmations, working on my mindset all the time. All of those things are like super important because they're like core foundations. But I feel like, in order to be a better person, sometimes it's always good to communicate, right? And just get it out there, get it off your chest, because otherwise you're going to feel lonely And it's very hard to try to work these things out on your own. And then you go into this spiral of negativity. The inner critic becomes, it's going to get the most of you, get best of you type of thing. And that's exactly what you don't want to do. So listen, I wanted to just quickly jump on here, and I hope that I don't feel like, I don't want to feel like I'm rambling on a little, but I just wanted to kind of jump on here really, really quickly and just quickly share a couple of tips with you guys. If you, depending on when you're listening to this episode, of course, we've just released an amazing new interview with probably this year's probably the biggest interview I've done this year with Rachel Pedersen, how to go viral on TikTok. Rachel was so authentic, transparent, and integrity-led. You go check that out. I believe it's at episode 169. So if you guys are interested in learning more about TikTok algorithms, how to get more visibility, then go and do so. Anyway, listen, enough from me. I'll see you back here again on the Business Accelerator. For you guys that are listening on the podcast, I'm going to put all the links below. Take care. Have a wonderful day. See you soon.